Tuesday afternoon in the never-ending January, we are going to talk about B2B social media, as Rhonda rightly described. We are going through a global journey from the Nordics via Beijing to London via the B2B social media landscape, which is bigger than you might think it is. My name is Linn Nyrvik. I am a media and influencers manager at SPQR Communications, which is a corporate comms and marketing agency. I am also an alumni from University of East London, studied my master's in media communication and global development in 2019 to 2020. Let's dive into the presentation. So we are covering quite a couple of bits in the next 45 minutes to 1 hour. I'm going to make a little introduction about myself and what I'm doing, talking about B2B social media in the first place. I'm also going to give you a hopefully a quite good introduction of the B2B social media 101, what to do, what not to do. We are going through the global to local journey. We navigate B2B social media across all continents. Touching a little bit about influencers, because I think most of us have an impression of that influencers only belong to more consumer-based social media marketing, but it also plays a role in B2B as well, as you might come to find out in this presentation. We will end up with some do's and don'ts, or some green flags and red flags at the end. As Rhonda also mentioned, I want this to be a bit more interactive. I don't want to have a long monologue for 45 minutes and then open the floor up. I will have some pauses in this presentation for you to ask questions. If you want to pop it in the chat, or if you want to turn on your mic and ask me directly, it's entirely up to you. Before I talk about me, I just want to know a little bit more about you. If you can take 30 seconds, 1 minute or so, just to use the chat function. I would like to know who you are, what are you currently studying, if you are a student, or what did you study when you went to UEL? What are you hoping to get out of this session? Do I have any replies? I can't really see the chat.
So there's no replies at the moment, but I can introduce myself again. I'm Rhonda, and I'm an alumni engagement officer here at UEL. So I've been here for just over 1 year, and the main kind of things that we do within the UEL alumni team is to try and keep our alumni engaged, because what a lot of people think is that once you graduate from a university, that's kind of it. But we want to kind of strengthen that relationship through different engagement activities, such as, for example, this webinar, different things highlighting and profiling our alumni. So that's just a bit about me. I've not seen anything in the chat, but also if anybody wants to type something or wants to turn on their mic, please feel free, and I can also read out anything that's in the chat also.
Yeah, I hope that at least for me, what you will get out from this session is to learn a little bit more about B2B. And I think for a lot of people, when you hear about business to business marketing, it might be seen as boring to boring marketing instead of fun. So I hope that this presentation will make you feel that it's a bit more fun, hopefully, than you thought initially.
So I've got 3 replies. I've got Laura Lane, I've got Laura Lane, who is a recent alumni. So Laura studied a master's in positive and coaching psychology, and Laura has also started her own business and recently started her own business, and hoping to improve online presence and B2B marketing. Then we have Thomas, who graduated in 2018 at UEL, and the course studied by Thomas was photography. Thomas is studying data management and getting into the data analytics field. We have Audrey, who is also a recent graduate of applied positive psychology and coaching psychology. Audrey has experience of coaching for 8 years, but feels like I believe she needs to have more engagement with social media. So I believe that's the reason for joining this webinar. Then I hope I've pronounced the name right. Is it Awana? As you may remember, because we work together at UEL, I have studied psychosocial studies and I'm attending this session to develop my knowledge about social media, as I really appreciate your help you gave me when working together.
Oh, yeah, I remember you, Anna. We were working together at UL during the pandemic. I think both of us were trapped into two small rooms. So good to have all of you on board. Was it any other answers, by the way, Rhonda? Sorry.
Those are the answers I have so far.
Yeah, I think that the first person I think was Lauren talking about improving online presence, especially when you have a business. It's really important because it's very if you don't have a big budget, it's a very natural tool to use because you don't need to spend a lot of money. You just need to spend time in a wise way. In terms of the data analyst Thomas, B2B social media marketing is very heavily on data, so you have come to the right place, and the other people too. So thank you for giving me your answers. It's always nice to know who you are talking to in these type of sessions, especially when it's remote. So who I am then, I started my life in Sweden, in Gothenburg, the second biggest city of Sweden. Had no idea what I wanted to do, and in college I was studying nursery assistance psychology or something equivalent. I have always been very curious about the world and how everything is connected to each other, and marketing and communications has always been very close to my heart. I then moved to Oslo, the capital in Norway, where I studied a bachelor's degree in journalism from Oslo Metropolitan University. And during that time, I was lucky enough to be able to do an exchange semester in the Communication University of China in Beijing, where I studied new media. This was a few years ago, so new media basically is social media, but at that time it was a bit more new than it is now. I was also freelancing as a marketing executive in Beijing, and I ended up staying for 1 year. When I was there, I realized that social media is vastly different in Beijing compared to what I'm used to in Europe. And that made me be even more interested in having digital marketing and social media as a profession. In 2019, as I mentioned initially, I moved to London to do my master's in media communication and global development in UEL. When I did my dissertation, that was essentially what really paved the way for the rest of my career, because I found a gap in existing research. There was not too much research made about B2B social media, and the research that was made was quite outdated. And it's a fast changing industry for obvious reasons. So I did my dissertation about social media for B2B companies and charities. Be it that it was during COVID, I was focusing on crisis comms on social media. I then used kind of that angle when I then applied for jobs, because as you can imagine, it wasn't the easiest to find your first job as a recent graduate, but I was able to land my first B2B social media job in 2021 as a social media executive in a management consultancy startup. Fast forward to now, when I'm working as a media and influencers manager for SPQR Communications, where I have quite a lot of relationships with various clients, and specifically some global B2B clients, where I do all types of media and social media. Let's see. Oh, here we go. So, social media 101. Where do we start? Sorry, I'm just trying to change the screens in the same time. There we go. So B2B means business to business. It essentially means that I work for a business and my services and products are sold to other people working in other businesses. B2C marketing is business to consumer. So that is, I am a business and I'm selling things to consumers. And I think that is something that all of us are quite used to. If you walk around the high streets around the world, or if you do some online shopping, all of this is typically B2C. There are some key similarities and some key differences between B2B and B2C social media. The first one is audience segmentation. So what that means is how you define your audience and what type of audience that you are reaching out to. So when it comes to B2B, you're mainly reaching out to businesses, professionals, decision makers within specific industries or niches. You emphasize professional networking and lead generation. Lead generation is a quite important word when it comes to B2B. I'm going to mention that and explain it in a bit more depth later on in this presentation. In B2C, it's more focused on individual consumers and with a varied demographics, preferences, and behaviors. It focuses on lifestyle, interests, and personal preferences. When it comes to content strategy for B2B, it's much more educational, informative, and industry-specific content. You want to show that you as a business is an expert in the specific section or field of work that you are working in, that you are standing out from the competitors. The content includes, for example, thought leadership, case studies, and industry insights, whereby in B2C, it's much more entertaining, much more emotional appeal, product-oriented content designed to attract and engage individual consumers. It includes storytelling, visual content, and user-generated content. When it comes to relationships, that's also quite different. So when it comes to B2B, it's much more focused on long-term relationships, on trust and credibility with potential clients or partners through thought leadership and experience sharing. You are emphasizing professional interactions and networking. So this is where all types of, for example, these webinars come into place. This is where you maybe have some email marketing into place, whereby in B2C, it's much more about brand loyalty. It's more about personal connections, customer satisfaction. If I am satisfied about a product that I have bought as a consumer, I'm more likely to tell my friends about it. When I wear a pair of Nike trainers, I become a part of Nike. That's the relationship that B2C brands want to build with their consumers, while as in B2B, it's much more focused on professional interaction. How can I help you? How can you help me? How can we have this long-term relationship and make your business grow, essentially? The sales cycles is maybe one of the most, the key thing that is differentiating, because in B2B, a sales cycle can take many, many, many years. From someone seeing a social media post in their feed, it can take several years before they actually make a purchase, if they ever do that. While in B2C, you might need some new socks, so you go into the first shop that you see to buy a couple of socks. It's much more straightforward with individual consumers making impulses or planned purchases based on personal preferences. You kind of know what you want to eat for dinner, and you want to have a smooth, seamless user experience. So that's some of the key differences between B2B and B2C social media that is good to have in the back of your mind. So the purpose of B2B social media marketing, in my opinion, are 4 key bits, whereby the first 2 are kind of are also important for B2C. The last 2 are more specific to B2B. So with social media marketing, your purpose is to stand out from the crowd and to reach out with your message and your unique selling points, as in what makes your company unique to your competitors. You also want to use social media marketing to build relationships with future customers and clients. That can happen when they send DMs, for example, to you, where they are commenting and you're texting back and forth, those type of things. You want to share content that is relevant to your industry and to your target audience. This can include emails, white papers, which are some type of reports and original research, blogs, and social media posts. and you want to have a strategic social media approach that will help you with the lead generation and to move future clients through the marketing and sales journey. So a lead generation basically means that what steps does a person take from they have, in this example, seen a social media post, what steps are they taking, the first social media post, what steps are they taking along the way before they actually make a purchase? That journey is what we can call a lead generation. And once you are on this part of the journey, then you become a lead or you become a warm lead. And on B2B social media marketing, we're using some other social media platforms than we usually have on our phones. I'm sure that all of you have maybe Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, probably LinkedIn as well on your phones. But we are also using email marketing. We're using SEO marketing on Google and other search engines. SEO means search engine optimization. So that is a strategy that you are using and implementing on your website to make sure that when people are searching for your specific service, that your company comes on the first page on Google. We use Google Ads, which are sponsored ads, and we use Salesforce and Hootsuite, which are CRM system, customer client relationship management system. So that is where we track the lead generation and the leads that are coming in. WordPress for websites, and the triangle is display ads. So I think that all of you know that when you go on a website, for example, and you see these display ads on the side, that is used in B2B social media marketing as well. Some of them are used in B2C as well, but these are very B2B specific. So I talked about the B2B social media user journey, by the way. If you may count on how many times I say B2B in this presentation, you can get a prize afterwards. So the user journey, for example, if you start down here in the orange, you open your LinkedIn and you see a post about a new blog post from a company. And you think that this is actually quite interesting for me because in the work that I do and in the company that I have, or the company that I work for, the clients that I have, it's quite interesting. So you click on the blog and you read the blog. So you come to step 2 because now you have gone from an external platform to the company's website. So that is one win that you have there. You read the blog and you realize the blog is just a smaller section of a bigger report that they have created about, for example, the best data analytics trends for 2024. And you want to know about the other trends because it's really relevant for you as a data analyst, for example. So how to download reports? So you download the reports and you read it, maybe 15 pages or so, and you see on the last page of the report, it is a webinar coming up about the person that has written the report. So you sign up to the webinar with your email address, which means that you also accept to be part of their email newsletters. Okay, so now we come into the third stage. Then you come into the third down here at the right. So by signing up to the email to the webinar, you agree to subscribe to the company's email newsletter, and you receive some emails. You open them up because you realize that they are actually quite interesting, and they provide some good skills and tips and tricks in bite-sized formats that you read on your commute to work. If you're working in the office, for example, you actually become a loyal reader of these newspapers. And from a technical point of view, what you actually can see as a B2B marketer, such as myself, you can actually see how many people that have, consistently engaged with the emails and opened the emails. And now you have taken so many steps and interacted with so many different types of content that you are now classified as a warm lead. A warm lead is very interesting for the salespeople because that means that you have shown interest and you actually maybe want to buy something, not only because we want to convince you to buy something, but because you have realized that this product or service that the B2B company is providing is actually solving a lot of your issues that you have, or solving a lot of your stuff that will make your work easier or that make your work better. So that is the time for the salesperson that maybe picks up the phone to you if they have your phone number, or send you a personalized email. They might offer you a discounted introduction offer or a demo of, if it's a tech solution, for example. So you say yes to the offer and you try it, and then you realize that it is really good, and then you become a paying customer. And this looks very simple and easy on one slide, but this can take many, many months or even many, many years. The reason for that is because when it comes to business decisions, you usually talk to quite senior business people that have responsibility over budgets and over general decision making and over the journey that they want the company to go on. The other reason is that if you sign up to a business contract, when it comes to something, it can actually last for many months, but sometimes many years. So even if I say, for example, today, read a social media post about something that I want to buy for the company I work for, the company I own, I might be signed up for 6 more months to something else. I have to wait for those 6 months. And when those 6 months come, if I don't continue with, the report, email newsletter, the webinars, then maybe I have forgotten that the previous company, I read this random social media post 6 months ago, might have even forgotten about their existence. So that's why it's important. And I think that is the next slide. Yes, here it is. That's why it's important to focus on your content flow. So this might look quite confusing at the first glance. Let's say that you're posting a report, because you see now how the report and the webinars and everything are linking together to make people continue consuming the content and the relationship with your company. I'm talking to you as I assume that you will work in B2B social media one day. So if you start with, you create a report, so you create this thing in the middle, which is some original research or something, an offer that you have or something that is specific for your company. You then break it out into a lot of small pieces of content. So for example, you create 2 webinars out of 2 different chapters of the report. Each webinar covers things that can be squeezed into 2 different blogs posted on the website. And those blogs can then be broken down to social media posts that you're posting on LinkedIn or Facebook or other platforms. And you see, have all of that links in, and to the left side, you have video series. So you maybe use YouTube videos with someone in your company talking about a specific theme or a specific chapter of the report, and that then also leads to social media posts. So that is how you're leading people in and you're keeping people warm, because it actually is that in B2B, people want to learn. It usually is quite expensive products or services that they are selling. You often sign up for a long time. So you want to be able to do the research that you want to do before you make a decision, okay? And as I said sometime in the beginning, B2B have sometimes a bad rep of being called boring to boring. I don't think B2B is boring at all. And you actually do have a lot more creative freedom, especially now when it's much more Gen Zers coming into the corporate world and millennials. And we are more used to maybe another way of business than maybe the previous generations have. So I just want to show you 2 case studies of how Slack on the first slide have and MailChimp on the second slide have used creativity for their campaigns to not be seen as very boring, but actually to be seen as quite modern and creative. Both of these ones have won a couple of awards as well. So Slack is the same as Teams. Their Frontiers campaign included a mix of interactive web experiences, email marketing, and event collateral. They created a visually appealing website that showcased the event agenda, speakers, and registration details, alongside with interactive elements such as polls and quizzes to engage the attendees. They also had an email marketing campaign that utilized personalized messagings and dynamic content to encourage registrations and drive excitement for the event. That means that the people that worked in the sales department, the people that worked in the, for example, admin or operational department, and the people that worked in marketing and in data, they all got different emails because they all are interested in different things, but they all had the same goal to drive excitement for this event. This campaign won awards for its innovative use of digital assets and its effectiveness in driving event attendance and engagement. So they basically created a conference, but online on their website. And on the right-hand side, you can see some examples of how they looked like. So MailChimp is an email marketing software. If you're interested in email marketing in B2B, I recommend you to explore MailChimp. They have a free version on MailChimp. And this was the first platform that I used when I wanted to learn a bit more about email marketing. They also have a lot of analytics and stats that you can use, and they have a free version, as I said. So I recommend it to look. Many people forget about what MailChimp, the name of MailChimp. So they made a bit fun of that in their campaign called Did You Mean MailChimp? So the campaign included creative advertisements. It was featuring humorous and eye-catching copy that played on common misspellings of the MailChimp name. MailChimp created engaging digital content such as interactive quizzes and downloadable resources to educate users about its services and features. And this campaign received recognition for its clever use of advertisement and its ability to create buzz and brand recognition. And as you can see on the right-hand side, they are quite creative in its form and shape, and it's still classified as a B2B campaign. So I'm just opening the floor for a couple of minutes if it's any questions about what I have covered so far in terms of B2B marketing, the difference with B2B and B2C, what to focus on. Yeah, I'm all ears. I also know, by the way, that sometimes it's a bit of marketing jargon going on. So if it's any words or terminology that is unclear, please ask and I can clarify.
I can see someone typing, but I think you posted a picture of like the different social media platforms that you use for B2B marketing. And it was, you said you made reference to you don't really use like the ones that we're familiar with, which is like the Instagrams and all of that. So does that mean that those are not suitable for that type of marketing, or it's just that you use them, but not in the same way that you use the others that you mentioned?
It really depends.
Okay.
My main time on social media is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
That is my main thing, because the reason is that you have to look at the demographics of each of the platform. So okay, so let me make an example. So on TikTok, no matter the age, but we do know that on TikTok there are quite a lot of younger people, even though 30-plussers have started to use TikTok more and more, and Gen Zers are now using it more and more as a search engine. So how it was before has changed in terms of behaviors. But your state of mind when you are on TikTok is that you're maybe in bed, you're going to sleep, you're going to watch some videos, or you assume that you are going to see some entertaining content, or maybe some like makeup tutorials. But by contrast, if you as an individual go on LinkedIn, you kind of assume and you're in the mindset of coming across business or student related content, which means that then for me as a marketeer, it makes sense for me to do promotions on the platforms where people assume that they are going to get some professional content out from it. And you can also see a bit you need to know your audience. So if you know that your audience are maybe 45 plus, quite senior people that have been working in corporate for the last 20 years, they might not use Instagram at all. So then it doesn't make sense to spend all this time and resources on a platform where your audience doesn't even exist.
Mm.
So I usually start doing like a platform kind of strategy. Here are the platforms, which ones are we using and what's the purpose of each of those ones. And I have always ended up focusing much, much more on LinkedIn because it is the primary B2B social media platform.
Okay, thank you. And then just another question that follows on from that, because in the diagram you were showing, like it said, report and then all the different kind of branches that come for it. So based on like a business, does their budget determine how much of, I guess, the marketing you can put out there? So if they don't really have a big budget to kind of reach out to people or to other businesses, does that mean that the level of marketing you do kind of is scaled down, or you still try to do what you can?
The thing is that if you have one big piece, so if you have one report, that in itself might be quite time consuming and cost a bit of money to create. But as long as you have that specific big piece of content, then it's quite easy for one or two people that already work in marketing to split that out into smaller pieces of content. So the thing that I showed you, let me see, was it this one? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So this is something, if you work in a small team, you have one marketing manager and one copywriter, for example, it's quite likely that a marketing manager and a copywriter can do all the blogs, all the social media posts, maybe some of these infographics all by themselves, maybe a couple of emails as well. So it's as long as you have that one piece of bigger content, and that can be a webinar, that can be a report, that can be a podcast, then it's quite easy to break them out onto other things. And this actually, I would say, is something that is good for a company with a small budget, or maybe a self-employed person or someone that has a very small marketing team. Because as long as you have the key bit in the middle, it's easier. If that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Someone was typing, but then they stopped, so I don't have anything in the chat box. But if anybody has anything, or would you like to continue? If anyone has a question that they... Okay, I've seen one question, 1 point. So Laura said, I'm never sure whether to post content on LinkedIn to connections only or to all. All seems a bit vast and not really tailored to my target audience. So I guess what advice would you give in that situation?
I would give all 100%, because what it means is that if I am your connection and I like your post, then that post will be visible to all my connections. You're right, it might not be relevant for everyone, but if I don't think it's relevant, I'm just gonna continue scroll. But at least then you get the exposure and you get more people actually seeing your post, and maybe it's 2 people that are interested. But if you only have your connections, you will never be able to widen your network to a broader audience. No new person will probably come across. So I would always recommend you to do everyone.
Thank you for that. And then a question that I've been asked by Reem, can I apply B2B in the banks field? So I guess the financial sector.
Definitely you can, because then you have, and it depends on who your customers are, but you can apply it to, here you have this financial institution or bank that you're working for. Your customers are maybe people or companies that want to invest their money, which means that they are also a business. So that is a very good example of a B2B company. Definitely.
So those are the questions so far. If anybody has anything else to put in, otherwise we're good to move on whenever you're ready, Lynn.
Sure. We're now taking a bit of a global view, and then we'll go down a little bit to local. How to navigate B2B social media across continents. So imagine your, for example, your bank, and you are now going to do a marketing campaign for this bank, and you do some research about their audience maybe, or how that company is built up, and you realize that, okay, it's 1 billion people or 1 billion LinkedIn users, which is the primary B2B social media platform. And everywhere you go, you have different regional regulations. If you look at India compared to UK, compared to Germany, all of them have different regulations. It's quite difficult for one person to know all the regulations in the entire world and in the entire region. And then you also know that this office that you're looking at this company you're looking at have offices in 4 different continents. A continent is quite big, so having 4 different continents, it's a lot of different cultural variations. You also know that it's at least 7 billion smartphones worldwide. It's a lot of smartphones and a lot of people to reach. And then this specific company has multi-generational people. They have people ranging from 20-year-olds just out of uni or haven't even been to uni perhaps, people in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, maybe even in the 70s. They all have different variety of digital knowledge and what they know about the digital landscape in general. And there also is over 30 social media platforms out there, and the company has employees from 100 countries, which means a lot of languages, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different religions, backgrounds, all of that. So how can you, with one specific marketing campaign, make all of these billions of people interested in your company? Because I might not be interested in the same things as you are, because we're 2 very different people. So the solution to this is to localize it. That was a cliffhanger. Is to localize it. So I'm going to go through 2 case studies, one from Cisco, that is a B2B digital company, and one from Adobe, which I think many of you know. Adobe have Photoshop and Illustrator and those softwares. So Cisco wanted to promote smart building solutions worldwide. And when it comes to smart buildings, it's also quite different from, for example, in Sweden. It's really, really cold in Sweden. We don't need to have maybe a lot of air condition compared to somewhere Brazil, where it's the complete opposite. So they localize the campaigns by creating regional specific content, highlights, case studies, and testimonials from local clients. So from this big campaign that was called Digital Ceiling, they created some mini campaigns. So they created one for maybe California, one for London, one for, I don't know, Spain. I don't know if these are just examples. All of them have different needs and they have different experiences. They also utilize local social media influencers and industry experts to endorse the campaign in different markets and with different languages to increase credibility and engagement. Because obviously, I don't know how many of you are bilingual, but I would find it a bit weird if I go home to Sweden and I see an advert in English. I was like, just translate it to Swedish. This doesn't make sense to me, even though I do speak English. It's about the local and cultural feeling, which is the same in B2C. So it's a lot of B2C principles that you can directly translate into B2B. The second one is Adobe's Create with Impact campaign. So they targeted creative professionals worldwide, and they promoted its suite of design tools. As I said, for example, it's the Photoshop and some video production app. And the company localized the campaign by showcasing user-generated content from different regions, featuring different cultural perspectives and creative styles. They leveraged localized hashtags and social media channels to amplify the campaign's reach and engagement in each market and encourage user participation and advocacy. This is a lot of marketing jargon, but reach basically means how many people have seen your ad at least one time. How many people have seen it in their feed when they have scrolled? That is, 1 person is 1 reach, 10 people is 10 reach, and so on. Engagement is how many people have liked, shared, clicked on the links, left a comment. All of that is engagement. So that is me actively engaging with that specific post. And that's where encouraging user participation. So that means that you are now having people actually wanting to do something with these posts and advocacy. And I just want to give an example, another example of localizing the content from different regions. I'm going to put my Swedishness as an example once again. So for me in Sweden, experiencing snow is very normal. So if I would say something about snow, I would associate this with being home. If I would see an advert about a sunny beach on a beautiful island, I would feel that that is something very exotic and far away from me. If you are someone living in Greece, the experience would be the exact opposite. So you would maybe have a sandy beach just outside of your doorstep, while you might have never experienced snow depending on how much you have traveled. So when you see snow, you see something that is exotic and far away. And when you see these beaches, you have it all around all the time. That is why it's so important to localize things to make it feel like, oh, I'm aware of this. So you need to localize your global campaigns by using data analytics. This is really key here, to understand the regional users and their behaviors, because it's easy for me to say how it is to be a Swede. But if I have a project at work for Germany, I need to know how Germany is, because I don't know how Germany is and I don't want to come across as ignorant, for example. So that is why you use data analytics to understand this. I also want to mention to you guys that a lot of people actually don't localize their global campaigns. So if you land a job in a B2B organization in marketing, make sure that they are localizing their global campaigns. And if they don't, suggest that they should. And that kind of shows that, yeah, this person is switched on and have a lot of ideas. Any questions? This was a quite quick summary.
So I have a question. I think this was from the first section that you spoke about. This is from Audrey. And the question reads, you started to mention B2B for self-employed. So what are your thoughts of the best practices?
Are you self-employed selling like a service or a product for other businesses? Because that is also something, I don't know if you want to answer that. But say, for example, I am a self-employed consultant, and I am going into a business to do some consulting. I would use the same principles, really. Everything is quite adapted depending on, regardless of the size of the company or how many people that work in it. If I'm self-employed, I would use the same principles. I will have a smaller budget, so I might not be able to do, for example, these big campaigns, but I might be able to post something on LinkedIn. I might be able to do some stuff on Google Ads. I might be able to do some blogs, maybe not a full report, but maybe a couple of blogs that can be social media posts highlighting what I'm selling. So I would use the same principles. I would just use a smaller scale.
So Audrey has confirmed that it's a service, so selling coaching services.
Exactly. So that is exactly what I would use, the same type of social media platforms as I listed before, talking about coaching. I would create a blog talking about coaching. I would do like a YouTube series, maybe 3 or 4 episodes of a YouTube series, highlighting maybe 4 different things that you're coaching about, or 4 different techniques that you're using. And then that will be your key thing in the middle. Then I will break that out into small pieces of content and post. And that is something you can do as a self-employed person without having to have a large budget. You probably don't even need to have a website if you have a good social media presence.
So I don't know if you've actually answered the second question, which was Reem was asking, what about the cost? Is that high? So I don't know if that's in relation to it being a service, or if it's into self-employment? Oh.
I mean, so can you ask the question again, please?
So the question was, what about the cost? Is that high? So I think that might be a follow-up from Audrey's question.
Yeah, okay. So the cost, how can I say? The cost really depends. The more money you have, the more impact you will have. Unfortunately, that is the reality of it. But that doesn't mean that you can't do anything with a small budget. If you have £50 to spare on social media marketing, then I mean, that is £50 that you can make an impact on. But of course, you can make an impact with £50,000 more. But we should also not disregard that if you just post stuff online, both on B2B and B2C, you can use Instagram or TikTok or Facebook as well. And you post a lot of things that is for free. You don't have to pay to post something there. And if you want to do some paid, probably you all have seen when you go on Instagram, you've seen these sponsored posts. That is something you can do for your service. And then you can choose yourself how much you want to spend on that. So I don't want to say if it's expensive because it really depends on your budget. It's social media. What I love with social media is that you don't need a lot of budget to start, and everyone can make a living out of social media and starts with no budget at all. If you learn how to create good content, and if you are willing to kind of put yourself out there and post a lot of things and engage with your community, you don't have to spend a single penny, really. That was a long answer, but I just want to encourage you that even if you don't have a budget, you can still use all these examples in your marketing, even as a self-employed and even if you don't have a lot of budget. And that is what I feel is so beautiful with social media marketing.
Thank you. So there's no further questions, so I'm happy for you to go on. Would like to.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Influencers, and then maybe here might be something that you that is a self-employed coach might focus quite a bit on, because this for sure is for free. So the role of thought leaders and industry experts. When it comes to B2B, we don't talk about influencers, or rather the definition of influencers is subject matter experts and thought leaders. That is how we define influencers in B2B. So they have proven themselves, they are experts in their subjects, and they have influence in the industries that they are operating in. So the importance of having thought leaders is that it generates more trust with a humanized approach. It can shape trends and make changes in the sector, because people buy from people don't buy from businesses. That is something we often forget, that even if you cannot hide behind this big logo, for example, because eventually I'm going to buy the service from the person I like the most. That is just the simple truth. And if I have seen on social media a person that do a lot of videos, for example, or that write a lot of nice social media posts, then of course I'm going to like that person and I want to support that person, and I trust that that person is going to do a good job for me. So the strategy here is to do a lot of variety of content from an actual individual, because we want to see the person's face, we want to know the person's name, and this can be blog posts, it can be keynote speeches, it can be videos, and it can be social media posts. Some examples on famous B2B thought leaders are these four. You might know at least one of them. But to the left, we have Ramon Ray, who is the founder of Smart Hustle Media. He is frequently in various podcasts. He has started 4 companies and sold 2 of them. And he's the author of the book called Celebrity CEO, which is also a best-selling book. Elon Musk, I think no one in this world don't know about at this point, but he's the CEO and chairman of Tesla, X, former Twitter, and SpaceX, and he's the richest man in the world. He's frequently in various publications. Charlene Lee is a founder and CEO of Altimetry Group. She's the author of the best-selling book Open Leadership. Then we have Sheryl Sandberg, who's the former chief of operations, so next to the CEO of Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And she's the author of the best-selling book Lean In, which is focusing a lot on women in business. So all of these 4 people, they have, by being out there with their faces and their voices, they have actually been able to grow their companies by being the face from the outside or to the outside. Quick on B2B social media does and don'ts. Here we have some like practical stuff. So what you shouldn't do, the red flags in B2B marketing. Excuse me. Is to not be overly promotional, because people want to have authenticity. They want to know that you have my best interest in mind. Don't ignore comments, because people want to have a two-way communication. They don't want to feel like they are just receiving a lot of marketing stuff. They want to have a two-way communication. Don't forget about the audience. Talk less about what we do and more about what you want. Underestimate visuals, because no one likes a big wall of text. You want to have visuals, you want to have GIFs, you want to have videos, images. A variety of visual stuff works very well. Don't ignore the analytics. I've been talking about this a couple of times, but it's really important to look at the analytics as a Bible to success and a helpful tool to optimize your campaigns. Don't rely only on organic reach. So that is where maybe it might be a bit more pricey, talking about the question from before, that organic reach basically means you're posting something online and off you go. But if you have a little bit of money, you can actually spend that money on that specific post to reach a broader audience, and therefore go out with your message. That is just £50, £100, £200. It doesn't have to be thousands and thousands. But don't only rely on organic reach. Maybe if you're self-employed, do it in the beginning to get used to the way of things. But in the long run, you should consider using sponsored posts as well. So what you should do instead is to provide value. Focus on what type of information the audience needs and the audience wants. Engage authentically. So develop a brand voice when you communicate with the audience. Demonstrate expertise, position your brand as a thought leader, see the brand maybe as a person in a bit. By sharing best practices and industry news, don't focus on selling stuff, but here I give you this report, here I give you these trends for 2024, here I give you these free emails, and then you talk about selling when you have proven already that that you know what you're talking about. Showcase success stories, because everyone loves testimonials from happy customers. Utilize LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn every single day. I spend hours and hours on it in my job. Become an expert of that platform will help you so much in the future, both when you're looking for jobs and also in your career. Try to use every single tool and tip and trick, and just learn and use analytics daily. Take advantage of all the free analytics tools out there to ensure you hit the right audience and that you track performance. All types of Meta, LinkedIn, Google, all of these companies, they have free analytics tools that you can use for free. That is included in when you sign up to their companies. And you can also buy extra analytics tools. It's not necessary to do that in the beginning, but it's good to know. So this is the end of my presentation. I've been talking a lot. Is there any final questions or thoughts? Anything that you learned that you didn't like?
If there's any questions, please put them in the chat, or if you want to turn on your mic, please feel free to do that as well. I'll read out any questions that come in. Yeah, well, Audrey has said thank you for the information and the insight. It's been helpful for Audrey. You're welcome, Audrey.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Reem has asked, how can I get this register? I don't know if you're referring to the PowerPoint or if there's something specifically in the PowerPoint that you're referring to. If you please let me know, then we can see if we can go back and highlight it. Thomas has also said thank you, much appreciated. The structure of this presentation was very good. You explained everything very well, and it was very informative.
Oh, thank you so much. That makes me so glad.
If they would like to connect with you on LinkedIn, how would they be able to do that, please? Would you want me to put in a link or?
Let's chat on LinkedIn. Yeah, please do. My name is Linn Nyrvik. Obviously, not the easiest spelling. But if you, Rhonda, share this deck with everyone, I can add my link to LinkedIn in there, because I would love to continue this conversation with all of you. If you have, I don't know, if you have any questions, I'm thinking about the person that in the beginning, I think her name was Lauren, about the business or the coaching or the data analyst or anyone else. If you want to just have a chat, about some ideas, or if you want to know how to start with analytics, whatever. I genuinely, I love B2B social media. If anyone have any question or any ideas that I might not have thought about, I'm always happy to have a chat. So yeah, let's please catch up on LinkedIn. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend this afternoon with everyone.
Well, thank you for your time. I'm giving it literally 1 minute to see if anyone has any last minute comments to make. But I hope it's been informative, everyone. If you didn't know about B2B social media, you've learned about it now. If you knew a little bit, now you know a lot more. And also you can connect on LinkedIn to find out a bit more information and also expand your networks. So I hope it was helpful for everyone. I will be sharing the PowerPoint presentation after the webinar, as well as a follow-up email. And you can also rewatch this webinar if anything was helpful for you. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great evening, and I'll speak to you all soon. So good evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.